ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey, man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 67 of the show. And yeah, man, I am coming to you a day after my Detroit Lions just shit the motherfucking bed in the NFL playoffs, man. But it's one pride till I die, motherfucker. As you can see, for those of you who are watching, I'm still rocking out with my Detroit Lions, man, because that's what I do. We not no fair weather fans around here. We not none of you bandwagon ass niggas that, y'all hop from one team to the next when they hot, nigga. Nah, I've been down with the Lions since 1990, man. Since I was 10 years old, man, I've been a Lions fan. I'll be 45 this year. I'll be 35 years of Lions fandom, and most of that has been suffering. Right, most of that has been suffering, but yeah, man, we had a damn good season, man. It hurts to watch the season show up, end the way that it did. I knew we was in trouble when I looked up and the Detroit Lions were down in the first half, and they had already given up 31 points in the first half. It was like, we can't stop a fucking cold, bro. And then to give up the ball as much as we gave up the ball yesterday, we didn't deserve to win that game. And so, I'm realistic as a Lions fan. We're a long suffering fan base. We have never been to the Super Bowl. So again, if anybody tells you you're a Lions fan, nigga, they might be on some they on some true shit, right? But yeah, we got that going on. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about this week, man. It is so much that I gotta kind of get into, put my thoughts on, put my like the shit been sticking in my craw all week as we come up on this the precipice of yet another Donald Trump presidency. And I got to talk about some shit that happened over the week and some of the things that are going to affect what's happening not only like this past week, but going forward, right? But of course, before we do that, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube and or Facebook, go ahead and hit me up at that number and chop it up with your man Spann Live. Get your voice heard here on the show, right? So that's area code 313-288-0485. You can also hit me up on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. I am also on Blue Sky, right? So if you're on Blue Sky, my name over there is Mr. Spann, is all one word, no underscore, no periods, nothing in there. MrSpann.bsky.social. So if you're on Blue Sky, you want to chop it up with me over there, you can do so in that way. And I do have a fan base? I think there's fan base. What's the name of this damn app? Does everybody keep like the black folks is talking about? Yeah, fan base. The black owned social media app. I'm over on fan base too. It's Mr._Spann over there on fan base as well. If you're watching us via YouTube, man, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and leave us comments over there, man. Those comments get read here live on the show. It's one way for you to put down for the show, man, and it's one way for you to have your voice heard over here. So we appreciate you guys who support us in that way. But leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And yeah, we appreciate everybody who does that. And you can go to our store, man, and cop yourself some merch. We do have merchandise. We have coffee mugs. We got t-shirts. We got sweaters. We got hoodies. We got all sorts of stuff, man. And we got some goddamn hats, man. We got hats.
We got some hats now, motherfuckers.
We got hats now, motherfuckers. So go ahead, cop yourself a hat, man. We appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. Now, that does cost you a couple dollars, but that helps us keep this operation here going, man. So we appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. Thank you so much for that. We did get a little bit of listener feedback over the course of the last week. I got one comment here from Team US 2K, and they told me happy podiversary, man, because we did celebrate 14 years on the mic as a podcaster, man. So thank you, Team US 2K, for those congratulations, man. Real talk, I really do appreciate it, man. I can't wait to see what what year 15 is gonna bring, for real, man. Real talk. But we got that going on. The other thing that we had going on, let me see if I had any comments over here on Spotify. And we got a comment here from Soul Power on episode 65. It was great to hear y'all together. And he's talking about the episode where I had Rod and Karen over from the Black Guy Who Tips on. Friends of the show, man, longtime friends of the show. It was great to have them on. I just hate that we had so many technical difficulties when they were on, but they were so patient and so gracious with your man Spann, and I appreciate them for their patience and their graciousness, because they didn't have to do that, man. But I appreciate them, real talk. And it's always a good time when we get a chance to kick it with Rod and Karen, man. Always insightful, always funny, and some of my favorite people, man, and also some of the greatest podcasters I've known. So real talk, check them out wherever you get your podcast. Check out the Black Guy Who Tips podcast, man. Real talk. Now, we got the listener feedback out the way. Let's get into the show. Now, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but your man Spann got his goddamn student loans forgiven, nigga. They gone. Student loans gone. Yes. Student loans gone, my nigga. My student loans have been forgiven. I was on Threads a couple days ago, and I saw people talking about student loan forgiveness and how many people had their student loans forgiven. And it was as if, like, I don't know if it was like they had done something like recently, like within the last week or so, to do it. But they were like, yeah, man, like up to 5 million people have had student loans forgiven via the Biden-Harris administration. And so, every time those come out, I always go to my email and I check. And first thing I do, student loans. I search and I'll be damned if it didn't say, congratulations, your student loan had been forgiven. And nigga, when I say, nigga, nigga, it just, oh shit, it didn't. There we go. That's how I was, like, nigga, like that's how it was, man. Happy that I don't have that shit hanging over me no more. Like, I didn't owe a whole hell of a lot of student loans. I didn't have a whole lot left, but to not have to pay that what was left is a blessing, man. Real talk. And I'm glad that I was able to have that, to be a beneficiary of that. And like, even when folks were getting stimmies and stuff like that, and people were getting their student loans forgiven and mine hadn't been forgiven, man, I wasn't knocking on, I wasn't hating on them or nothing like that. Hey man, good for you. That's what's up. You got a lot of folks out here who are very envious and very vindictive about people receiving blessings that they didn't get. And it's like, yo, man, maybe it's not for you, man. Like, and so like, maybe that's why certain things don't happen for you in your life, is because you're so envious and you're so hateful and you're so just negative. Right. But yeah, man, I was blessed enough to have the rest of my student loans canceled, man. So I paid off one of my student loans and the other one has been canceled, and I am so grateful for it. Thank you to the Biden-Harris administration, because they were the ones to do it. I know damn well Donald Trump and the Republicans ain't trying to forgive a goddamn thing for the working folk. Let's make that clear. They're not trying to forgive a goddamn thing for the working folk. But all those PPP loans that went out to congressmen and senators and stuff like that for their businesses, while they out there advocating for you not to be able to have your student loan forgiven, meanwhile they were out here taking PPP loans out and those loans were forgiven. Fuck every last one of them. Every last one of them. You can all kiss my ass. Real talk. So we got that going on. We got a comment here from Miss Mocha's in the chat. Miss Mocha says, good evening, Spann. Good evening, my lady. Good evening. I hope you're feeling good tonight. And she also says, let's see, doesn't it feel good? Mine have been forgiven too. It is an amazing. And here's the thing, because like I said, it wasn't as if I owed a whole lot, But it's just like the principle, it's the principalities of the whole thing, right? Like, oh man, like, I've been out of school 20 years, bro. I ain't been a college student in 20 years, like 25 years almost, right? It's been a long time since I've been a college student, man. And so to still be paying for college at this late stage, man. And like, I was having a conversation with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was asking me about, like, so hold on, how'd you get your student loan? My mother-in-law ain't been a college student in almost 50 and she's still paying student loans. Like, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. And it's one of those things where, so many people are like we were sold on the idea, get your education will take you far, your education will command a certain type of income, and then you can pay that student loan back based upon the income. But what we're finding out, man, is that like that's not always the case. People are going into debt to go get these degrees, and then the degrees, they come out of college, they looking for the job, and the jobs don't want to pay them what the degree is supposedly is supposed to demand. And so now your degree is, you got the degree, but now your student loan is in deferment, or your student loan is in forbearance, and you're pushing off the payments because you don't have the money to pay the shit. And they told you that this was going to help you advance further in life. And for a lot of folks, it didn't happen for them in that way. And you end up paying more in interest than you actually took out in the loan to begin with. How you think about it? Like, you probably took out a $5,000 loan, back in 2001, and then you look up and they saying, yeah, you owe $7,000 on this $5,000 loan that you took out in 2001, where you were making payments on it. You were probably making the minimum payment that you had to make every month, but you still you owe more than you did than when you took the money out. That doesn't make sense. And the thing is, so many people, we're talking about, hey, they shouldn't get their student loans forgiven because, they shouldn't have taken the money. It's like, yeah, I took the money because I needed the money, but also that interest was a motherfucker, and I'm paying more than I actually borrowed. So cancel the fucking interest, and maybe you have something going on. But the whole thing is, I am glad I got my student loans forgiven. I no longer owe that shit. That was the oldest account on my credit report. I had to check my credit report to make sure the shit was real, bro. Because like, straight up, I looked at my credit report like, is this shit real? And it had it on my credit report. My shit's closed, man. It's closed. That's no longer a thing I got to worry about anymore. So yeah, man. Thank you to the Biden-Harris administration for doing that. Right. So we got that going on, man. My student loans been forgiven. Got that. Now, one thing we're gonna talk about. So the Jack Smith report came out earlier this week. And I think, with this report coming out, honestly, I feel as though it's a bit too little too late, because this country has actually allowed for Donald Trump to run the clock out and be reelected as president, despite everything we know, but despite the crimes that we know this motherfucker committed in front of every fucking body. And when I say everybody, I mean every fucking body. And like, even the people who support Donald Trump, they can't tell you that the shit didn't happen. They just try to spin the shit in a not so negative way. But the report coming out, I feel like I said, it's a bit too little too late, because they were not able to take this man to trial in the way that they should have been. And too many Americans were willing to just forgive the shit that he did, because they are under the false impression that things were better under him, despite the fact that we have, ample amounts of evidence that we weren't better under Donald Trump. But we get the story here. This comes from NPR. It says that special counsel says that the evidence against Trump was enough to convict him. The Department of Justice's long-awaited election interference report against Donald Trump, released earlier Tuesday, said that the evidence against the president-elect would have led to his conviction at trial, if not for his election victory that led to charges being dropped. And I told y'all, if y'all been listening to the sound of my voice for any length of time, I told people the only reason that this motherfucker is running for president is to keep his ass out of jail. That is the only reason why he was running. That's part of the reason why he started running as early as he did. Donald Trump got into the race super duper early, so that anything that came at him when it came to these cases, he can say it's all politically motivated. And that's exactly how he rolled with it. Said prosecutors wound down the 2 federal criminal cases against Trump after he won the 2024 election, following longstanding department precedent And the final report by Jack's special counsel Jack Smith is their last chance to explain their decisions. Smith, in a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland, prefaced the report defending his work and his team, as well as his impartiality in pursuing the federal cases against Trump, whom prosecutors ended up charging with election interference in Washington, D.C., and with hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort and refusing to return them to the FBI. And the irony of that is that Donald Trump was out here talking cash shit about Hillary Clinton and her emails and her private server and how insecure that was. Meanwhile, they got pictures of this nigga keeping classified documents in the bathroom at his goddamn house. It says the report says the evidence would have led to Trump's conviction at trial, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, longstanding Justice Department policy prohibits prosecuting a sitting president. Here's the thing. I have a problem with this. And the reason why I have a problem with this is because, yeah, it's policy. It ain't law. It's not the law. There's no law saying you cannot prosecute a sitting president. If a president is out here committing fucking crimes, he should be out here getting charged with those crimes the same way anybody else is. But we can no longer say that no one is above the law in this nation, considering what we've seen with Donald Trump and the things that he's been allowed to do and get away with in front of all of our fucking faces. You can no longer tell me that no one is above the law. We know exactly who is and who isn't. Whiteness works in hell of a ways, man. He said Smith said he fully stood behind the decision to bring the cases. To have done otherwise on the facts developed during our work would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and as a public servant. After nearly 30 years of public service, that is a choice I could not abide. The 137-page report lays out prosecutors' evidence of Trump's efforts to influence the election and propagate election claims that he knew were false. I mean, yeah, man. So like I said, for this to come out now, I mean, you know, I get that people wanted to see the report. I mean, I low-key wanted to see the report. Donald Trump was fighting to keep this report from being seen because also, you know, there's the other part about that. If Donald Trump doesn't want the shit to be seen, that's because Donald Trump knows there's some incriminating shit in there and he don't want y'all to know about it. Why don't you want us to know about it, man? Whether you don't won the election at this point, so what difference does it make? You can't, by law, if we're still doing this law thing, you're not supposed to be able to run for president again, right? So if we're doing this law thing, yeah, this is what it's the law that this report comes out. And he was trying to make sure that the American people didn't get a chance to see it. My thing is, hey man, you know, it's just too little too late because we've allowed this motherfucker to become president again. Too many people set their asses at home. Too many people thought that they were going to send a message to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and punish them. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are going to be fine. Can't necessarily say the same for those folks over in Gaza. Can't necessarily say the same for those folks in the Latino community, men especially, who voted in numbers for Donald Trump. When these deportations happen, I just hope you know this is what you voted for. Real talk. And we got that going on. But yeah, Jack Smith is the report is out. So we got that going on. And Miss Mocha says, this is Stephanie from the Mocha Minutes. We gotta chop it. Damn it, Miss Mocha. Damn it, Stephanie. We do gotta chop it up. We do gotta chop it up, sister. I can't wait. I gotta have you on the show and I gotta be on yours. We gotta hook something up, sister. Real talk. But yeah, we got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, I think I'm gonna be on the mic for quite a bit tonight, man. I can feel it in my bones. I just know it's gonna happen. But the next thing we got to talk about, man, is we were just talking about Gaza. Joe Biden negotiated a ceasefire that happened in Gaza. So that's breaking news for a lot of folks. Yeah, man. So we did get a ceasefire negotiated by Joe Biden over the course of this week, man. And one of the things about this is, Donald Trump already tried to take credit for the shit, right? We know that. He already tried to take credit for it. The thing that I thought was interesting about this is they want me to take my ad blocker off, and I will not. I will keep refreshing this screen because no. No. How about y'all let me do this without supporting this time? I don't do taking down the ad blocker. Excuse me. And they will not let me. Come on now. Don't be like this, Reuters. I do not want to allow ads, bro. Okay, fuck it. I guess for the purposes of the show tonight, we're gonna do just this one time for the Western name. Okay, so we get the story. We get the story from Reuters. It says South Carolina. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza on Sunday and said hundreds of trucks were entering the seaside enclave to help its civilians. Today, the guns. Wait, there's video. Oh shit. Y'all know what we do over here when there's video. Hold on, let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me and we can see what President Joe Biden had to say about the ceasefire in Gaza. So let's do this here. Let me go ahead and maximize that and turn the sound on and boom.
The deal that I first put forward last May for the Middle East has finally come to fruition. The ceasefire has gone into effect in Gaza, and today we're seeing hostages being released. 3 Israeli women held against their will in the dark tunnels for 470 days. 4 more women will be released in 7 days. 3 additional hostages every 7 days thereafter, including at least 2 American citizens in this first phase. Today alone, we anticipate several hundred trucks will enter the Gaza Strip as I'm speaking. And after so much pain, destruction, loss of life, today the guns in Gaza have gone silent. So as we reflect on the news from Gaza today, we also remember all the victims of this war. We're mindful. We're mindful that the pursuit of a lasting peace, while never easy or quick, must always be our calling.
All right. So those are the words from Joe Biden. Like I said, one of the things that I thought was very interesting. If you guys heard him mention it in the video, this was a deal that they had already had up in. They had already pretty much negotiated. This exact same deal that they had in May of this year. May, all right, and yet they didn't come to this agreement until this month. Right? I think about that for a second. That's like 6-7 months. They've been sitting on the exact same deal. And then after this election, right before Donald Trump comes into the presidency, there's a deal made. And you cannot convince me. You will never be able to convince me that this deal and the way in which it was accepted, especially by the Israeli government, you will not be able to convince me that this didn't have like the same sort of duplicitousness that Richard Nixon had while negotiating against a ceasefire in Vietnam back in 1968 when there was a presidential election during that time in which Richard Nixon became president. You cannot convince me that this also doesn't reek of 1980 when Ronald Reagan negotiated secretly with the Iranians to not release those hostages that was over in Iran until after the 1980 presidential election, right? So one of the things about I feel as though we got to be students of history, right? Because oftentimes, if you're a student of history, some of these things they reoccur. And when you see these things reoccurring, you're like, oh shit, I've seen this before. I've watched this, or I read about this, or I heard about this, right? And when you are aware of what happened before, when those things start to rear their head again, you could be aware of what their effects could be going forward because you've seen this, you've studied this, you've watched it happen, right? And like the disappointing thing to me is that like so many folk just don't understand and are not paying attention to all of these things happening over and over and over again. And it's maddening because like I said, Donald Trump is as soon as this was announced, Donald Trump took credit for it. Donald Trump was like, and he went about, saber rattling and saying that like, if y'all don't have a deal done by this time, it's going to be hell to pay, all this other shit. They took the same fucking deal that they had over in May, right? Now, again, all of these things happen during, all these things are happening during presidential election years. And as I watched, with empathy, a lot of folks of Palestinian descent, a lot of especially here in Michigan, where we have a lot of um, where we have the largest Muslim population in America, the largest Arab population in America. As I watch them protest up and down the streets here in Dearborn, Michigan, and all over Southeast Michigan, I work around the state, so like I got a chance to see a lot of it. I remember when I went to the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner here. President Biden spoke at that dinner, and I remember before we could even go through the security checkpoints for Secret Service, there was a bunch of protesters down there for that shit too. I remember seeing that, right? And I also understood, like, I understood, like, I understand the sense of like, yo, man, my people are over there, and my government is complicit in helping in funding the government that is killing my people. Like, I empathize with that. I do. I totally get it, and I totally empathize with that. But being an American and being a Black American at that, and also understanding what the stakes are for my people here, I don't have the luxury of being a one issue voter, right? A lot of us don't have that luxury of being a one issue voter. I am also a blue collar worker. I am not, I am Black. I am an American. I am a blue collar worker. I am in the middle class. I like those are the things that like I had to, not only just not thinking for myself, but also thinking about the women in my lives and how this vote can affect their 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 um their bodily autonomy, having those rights taken away. Thinking about how the LGBTQ community is going to be affected by this vote. Now, I'm not gay. I'm not of the LGBTQ community or anything like that. However, I have empathy for what those folks are dealing with also. But I can't be a one issue voter, right? And I think what happened is that so many of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, so many of our Arab brothers and sisters wanted us to be one issue voters on that one issue that affected them when we couldn't be, right? And we also understood the ramifications of allowing someone like a Donald Trump to come to office, because if Donald Trump had come to office and this war was still going on, guess what was going to happen to the rest of those Palestinians over there? He wasn't going to pull back the Israelis from doing what they what they wanted to do. He was going to embolden them. He was going to embolden them. And then you add to the fact that so many people thought they were sending a message to Kamala. You're sending a message to Joe Biden. It's like Joe Biden is going to be all right. Joe Biden's a millionaire. He's going to retire, and he's going to be like, I ain't got to worry about this shit no more. Kamala Harris is going to be okay. Kamala Harris ain't hurting for money. She can go back into public life. She can go back to California, become, run for governor. Maybe she could probably, go into the private sector. She's got governmental experience at the upper levels, nigga. Like, she's not going to be hurting for money. Like, Kamala Harris is going to be fine. But what about those folks still dealing with the ramifications of what happened over there? Because you wanted to send a message over here. To me, that shit sounded short-sighted. Right? It sounded short-sighted to me. But yeah, man, like, to watch the ceasefire happen, I'm glad it happened. I am glad it happened. But I think that the only reason we're seeing it happen now has political implications. All like real talk. Like, we know that like a lot of people didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she would not break with Joe Biden publicly over how he was handling what was going on over there. And she was, even on the campaign trail, talked countless times about how they're negotiating day and night to get a ceasefire happening over there in Gaza. And people was like, they not doing enough. They not doing enough. Meanwhile, Israel holding the whole shit up because Netanyahu, very close to Donald Trump, by the way, was holding shit up. Was holding shit up. Let's call it what it is, man. Let's just call shit for what it is. So, yeah, man, glad the ceasefire is there. But I think, the political ramifications of the ceasefire happening just now, we going to deal with the ramifications of this for years to come, man. Here, we going to have to deal with that because so many people were misled and were and allowed for their anger to allow for what's coming next here. So yeah, you got that going on, man. But we can move on to our next topic, man. We can move on to our next topic. Yo, Stephen A. Smith. I've been going in on Stephen A. Smith quite a bit the last few weeks, man. But Stephen A. Smith finally comes out and expresses his happiness over Donald Trump winning the presidency, man. Yeah, man. So like I said, man, we've been watching the red pill and the Stephen A. Smith over the course of the last few weeks, man. Especially since the election, Stephen A. Smith has made he's been making his rounds on right wing political outlets such as Sean Hannity's show over on Fox. He's been talking. Who was this one dude? Dave Rubin. Went to go speak with him, and he finally came out and talked about how he was happy that Donald Trump won this election, despite the fact that he says he voted for Kamala Harris. So we get the story here out of Black Enterprise magazine. It said, "I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I'm glad he won." Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith recently stated that although he did not vote for President-elect Donald Trump, he admits he is glad Trump emerged victorious in the election. In a conversation with Dave Rubin posted on Rubin's Instagram account, Smith seemed disappointed that he voted for Kamala Harris based on the Democratic Party's talking points. The video clip starts with Smith acknowledging Trump and the Republicans' victory, but clarifying that he did not vote for the president-elect. So there's video. Let me see. If there's video, we gonna play the video.
Tip my hat to.
Okay, yeah. So there's video. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right on with your man Spann, because y'all know that's what we do here. That's what we do. So let's see what the fuck this nigga is talking about.
The Republicans to the conservatives out here and what they did in this last election. Again, I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I got to tell you something. I'm not mad he won. I'm not mad he won because when I see, especially in the aftermath of the election, some of the things that transpired with the Democratic Party, in an effort to manipulate the election and the vote, it really ticked me off.
Hold on. Think about this for a second. He's talking about the Democrats had an effort to manipulate and an effort to change the votes after the election. Did this nigga forget that Donald Trump led a whole goddamn insurrection across did we forget that? Did we forget that there was no peaceful transfer of power the last time? That there had to been there were plenty of police officers beaten and bludgeoned. One of them died. That we saw one woman get killed at the Capitol because she was so enamored with the idea that Donald Trump had planted in her head that it cost her to lose her fucking life because she would not, back down when a police officer got a gun to her saying, "Hey, back up." And she gets shot, and now she's a martyr on the right because she believed that bullshit. So he's talking about, I ain't mad he won because of what the Democrats have been doing since the election. Nigga, what?
When you hear people talking about practical things, and then I saw folks on the left basically trying to guilt me into voting for you, it bothered me. I might have ended up voting for Kamala Harris because I didn't like how Trump acts. But what I didn't do was call him a racist. I didn't call him a Nazi. I knew Trump before he ran for president.
Yeah.
We talked on the phone. We talk at basketball games or boxing events. I knew this man. And so some of the things that were being said about him, I knew were not true. And I was saying, come on, y'all, you got to do better than that.
I talked to the man on the phone. I know him, here's the thing, right? You could talk to that man on the phone all day long. You could say, that man all day long. What I think Stephen A. Smith and some of the dudes, some of the prominent black men that we've seen cuddling up and sidling up to Donald Trump fail to understand is that all they do is provide cover for all of the stupid racist shit Donald Trump does. And he will use them to cover up for the fact and say that I'm not racist. I got black friends. I just had one of them over at the house the other day, right? They do this all the time. It's not this is not a new concept of a white person being racist and promoting racist talking points, promoting racist ideals, but keeping a few niggas around to keep them from feeling as though they're racist and giving them that cover so that those few niggas that they do keep around, tell people, "Oh no, man, he ain't like that, man. He ain't never been that way with me." But what about the rest of the folk? What about the rest of the folk? So Stephen A, like, you know, there was a video, I think it's attached to this, where he was talking about how he had already voted. He had early voted. And he wanted to change his vote after Barack Obama suggested that some brothers were not voting for Kamala Harris due to misogyny. And he was offended at that. How you offended at the fucking facts, bro, of the truth? There's a lot of niggas who will come out of their fucking face to tell you that they wouldn't vote for her because she's a woman. There's a lot of niggas who will come out of their face to tell you that they would not vote for her because she was a black woman. And there's a whole lot, and trust me, I work with some of these motherfuckers, so I know. Now that's anecdotal, but to act as though you're gonna be offended at the fact that that Barack Obama was speaking a truth, that yeah, there was a sentiment amongst some brothers that they would not vote for Kamala Harris because she was a woman. You offended at that? That sounds like a hit dog hollering to me. That's not guilting you. That's telling the fucking truth. If it's not the reason why you don't want to vote for her, then damn it, that ain't, you're not bothered by that. You're like, nah, that's not it. Here's the policy. Here are the policies that I disagree with Kamala Harris on. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. You can, if those were your concerns, you could say that. But to be offended that someone would articulate that, yeah, there was a contention amongst brothers, some brothers who wouldn't vote for her because she was a woman, because she was a black woman, and you was like, yeah, I would have changed my vote if I hadn't voted already, I would have voted for Donald Trump. I'm glad at this point now, though. I'm just glad at this point, because I've said this about Stephen A over the course of the last few weeks. I'm just glad now that he's standing on it and not trying to play in our motherfucking faces and acting like he didn't say what the fuck he said when we saw him say what the fuck he said. I'm glad now that he's coming out and just like, yeah, I like Donald Trump. I've been friendly with Donald Trump. I would have voted for the man, because I like some of his policies and all this other shit. But this, like the false equivalencies that a lot of these niggas are doing, when they talk about how he's being treated, when they talk about the press coverage that Donald Trump gets, when they talk about how they felt pressure from the black community to not support Donald Trump because he was, he's racist, and how black people view Donald Trump as being racist. And we're gonna talk to another motherfucker who was saying some of the same shit. But when you come out and you express these types of views, it's like, hey man, like, understand, you can have your opinion. Other people gonna have their opinions about that too, right? So it's not even cancel culture, because I know a lot of these motherfuckers will talk about being you gonna get canceled and all. Nah, nigga, like, you came out, you said some shit. More people probably dislike what you said than liked, and now you feeling like you can't say what you want to say because people don't agree with you. No, nigga, they don't agree with you. That's not canceling you. They don't agree with you, and people have the right to tell you why they don't agree with you. But like this idea that he was offended that Barack Obama was talking to some men in Pittsburgh about the latent misogyny that undergirded a lot of the resistance to Kamala Harris's candidacy. Like, nigga, like, get over yourself. Like, straight up, get the fuck over yourself. But like I said, I could respect it more now because he's standing on it. He wasn't standing on it before. I can respect it a little bit more now. I don't agree with this nigga. Fuck him. But I can respect it more because he's actually saying it instead of like, talking out of both sides of his mouth about how he voted for Kamala Harris, but and all these other things, but he had reservations and all. Nigga, don't get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. So yeah, Stephen A. Smith comes out as a if we're being honest, man, Stephen A. Smith is now a Trump supporter. And that's what it is. We gonna call this shit what it is, bro. You want to be over there, be over there. But that's what it is. So we got that going on. Now, another story that we got going on, man. TikTok. TikTok is we had a grand opening. We had a grand closing, grand opening with TikTok this week, man. Yeah, we did, man. So let me pull this up while let me do this here. I got a lot of different sources here that we're gonna go through. But excuse me. So TikTok has been a very popular, very a big part of a lot of content creators lives, man. Like a lot of folks are making money on TikTok. Friend of mine, friend of the show, Sherman Dilla Thomas, had 100,000 followers on TikTok, man. Was doing his thing, giving out Chicago history. And he wasn't, a lot of folks was over there doing the dances. Now he was one of the educational TikTokers and whatnot, right? And we've been talking about a possible ban of TikTok for well over 4 years now, right? But the interesting thing about the TikTok ban is that folks are giving Donald Trump credit for allegedly saving TikTok. But they seem to have forgotten that Donald Trump was the first motherfucker out here wanting to get rid of TikTok. So we're gonna take a little bit of it, because we're students of history over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network and the Miss Spann Official Podcast Miss Spann Official Podcast. We're students of history over here. So we're gonna pull up Donald Trump talking about his initial want to get rid of TikTok. Let me pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann as we do this. Here is, we get this from CNBC. I'm sorry, those are different. They tend to lean right over CNBC too, but let's see what they talk about over here.
President Trump talking on the South Lawn a short time ago. He was asked if he's going to ban TikTok here in the United States. Let's listen in to his response.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. There are a couple of options, but a lot of things are happening. So we'll see what happens. But we are looking at a lot of alternatives with respect to TikTok.
Obviously, Kelly, the concern is the security risk here in terms of how TikTok handles user data and whether or not it goes back to China or the Communist Party. Feasibly, this one stock, the one company that could benefit the most from this ban would be Facebook. We haven't seen a reaction in those shares, although this had sort of been talked about for some time that the U.S. would take action when it comes to TikTok.
Yeah, I was similarly looking at Snap, Melissa. Maybe we can show it real quick. Not a huge reaction. We saw them up big, obviously, the last time. This was rumored. They're up a little bit more than 3% on the session today. And we should know that Dow Jones is now reporting the president will sign an order demanding ByteDance to divest TikTok. So while the president's response may be unclear, the story reporting is starting to point towards this actually happening. Now, we know TikTok has a U.S. CEO, Kevin Mayer, who's formerly of Disney. Whether they just were to say, fine, this company will continue to exist in the U.S. as a standalone operation, pretty much the way that it does now, or whether it threatens their entire, existence in this country. I mean, they have millions and millions of U.S. users. Right. They're probably the single most popular social media app among people under age 20.
And you have to...
Yeah. So I played that video and I let it play up to that point because they talked about not only Donald Trump's initial want to get rid of TikTok, but they also talked about Facebook wanting to get rid of TikTok because TikTok was a competitor to Facebook. You think about, like for those of you who are users of Instagram, most of your fucking Instagram feed now is inundated with Reels, right? Instagram Reels came about because of TikTok, right? We didn't. I actually kind of yearn for the days of Instagram before it was a whole bunch of goddamn Reels. I just like looking at the pictures, man. I'm an old nigga now, right? I just like looking at the pictures, man. Does everything have to be a fucking reel? But everything's a reel now on Instagram now, right? So, like Facebook stood to gain quite a bit from TikTok, either going away, being banned, or basically being banned. Facebook stood to gain the most, right? But what was that? Donald Trump was the initiator of all the talk about how the Chinese government was using TikTok in order to gain access into Americans' information, right? Now, let's go to a little bit of a timeline here. At that time, back in 2020, when TikTok was when Donald Trump was talking about TikTok in a negative way, we can also tie that back into Donald Trump's anti-Chinese rhetoric back then too, because of the coronavirus, because of COVID, and Donald Trump calling it Kung flu and Donald Trump calling it the China virus and everything else, right? Donald Trump had a very xenophobic, kind of almost like kind of racist, ideology when it came to the like not only like the Chinese, but the Chinese government in particular, right? He might have said he had a good relationship with Xi Jinping, but as he spoke about China and like their government, he was he was very aggressive in saying that the Chinese were, were one of the enemies of the United States. And so he wasn't the only one. Joe Biden also came into office and he talked about them in similar veins. So there's some truth to whether or not our nations are adversaries or not. We may still have some trade agreements and everything else, but we are looking at each other adversarially at this point, China and the United States. Okay. But I want people to understand that back then in 2020, Donald Trump saw China and he saw TikTok being a Chinese owned app, and Americans having such an attachment to TikTok, and he saw that as a national security threat, and he wanted to ban it. Right. Fast forward to today, and Donald Trump not only pretty much got what he wanted from the U.S. government, because the U.S. government agreed with him, so much so that Joe Biden and the United States government, in the Congress, came up with a law that was going to ban TikTok in the United States if TikTok did not sell and divest from the Chinese government. And TikTok said, fuck that. We ain't selling shit. We'll just shut the shit down. We ain't selling the goddamn thing. And then the government was like, well, shit, they're not going to sell it, man. But we got to figure something out because so many of our people are, attached to this app, man. And, shit, I don't know. We gonna get the brunt of this shit if the people see that we the ones that fall for like banning this shit. We gonna get like everybody trying to figure out ways to like dodge blame, right? Whether it been Joe Biden, right? Whether it been the Congress, right? Whether it's even Donald Trump, because Donald Trump right now, even on TikTok, is being credited with saving the goddamn app. Come on, man. Play when I say play. But Donald Trump is getting credit from the app even. So like if you go on the app right now and you pull up the app, and it was talking about how, because last night, I think it went off last night. I want to say probably like around 11:30 or something like that. I pulled the app up and it was already down, and they had a message talking about how they were shutting the app down in the US, but they were working with President Trump in order to bring the app back. And then I woke up this morning, or like sometime this afternoon, and like they had it like, oh, we're back, and we want to thank President Trump for his work and continuing his work and continuing to allow us to work in the United States until we come to a resolution and all these other things, right? What they did not say is that they sold the fucking app in the United States to someone else. So do they give a fuck about your data or don't they? Right? And like as I was looking at the these messages that they were putting up when you open up TikTok, I'm like, this is nothing but the Stimmy Check 2.0. Like this is what that was. And if with Donald Trump talking about how he put his name on those checks, and so many people thought that those stimulus checks came from Donald Trump, not the democratically elected Democrat controlled Congress at the time, who has the power with a purse. Like they put those checks out. Donald Trump held them checks up until he can get his name printed on them shits. It's the same thing here when it comes to TikTok. And even with that, like Donald Trump's flip on that came when one of his massive donors, who has a lot invested in TikTok, was like, "Hey man, that's my shit, man. Like I fucks with that. I got a lot invested in that. I'm gonna need you to like kind of, ease up on that." One of Donald Trump's major donors was the reason why Donald Trump flipped on TikTok. Not only that, Donald Trump learned that he had a lot of supporters over there on TikTok. Donald Trump didn't do this out of like the greatness or the goodness of his heart. He did not do this because he thought about you and how it was going to affect you. No, Donald Trump did this because it was going to be politically expedient for him. And if you've watched how social media companies, the leaders and the owners of these social media apps, are coalescing around Donald Trump, one of the reasons why it should give you pause is because you think about how most people get their information today. Most people are no longer reading the newspaper. Some of them have given up watching news programs altogether. If they're going to be informed on something, 9 times out of 10, they've gotten informed through some form of social media. They saw a headline on, they saw a headline and a caption about a news story. They might not even click the news story. They saw the headline and then they share the headline and then they go in and they start talking about the headline, never even reading the fucking story. You think about how Elon Musk bought Twitter. And you think about how Twitter was before Elon Musk bought it. Think about the way a lot of social movements were mobilized because of folks' ability to connect on TikTok. I mean, I'm sorry, but on Twitter, and to give real time updates on what's happening on the ground on Twitter. Like, you think about how how much of that information can now be suppressed because it doesn't align with the owner's political leaning. Well, we've seen Elon Musk, and a lot of the people on the right are finding this out right now, where they're having their blue checks taken away from them, where they're having their tweets, no longer prioritized, where their voices are being minimized over there because it goes against what Elon Musk is trying to promote at the moment. So you got all these millions of members over there who, for whatever reason, are still on Twitter. But you got all those people over there, and yet it doesn't, Twitter doesn't have the same effectiveness that it had before because of the way that Elon Musk has bent the algorithm and bent the company and bent its message over there at Twitter to where it's no longer the same type of platform. Then you think about how Mark Zuckerberg bends his knee, and he talks about he's taking fact checking away on all of the platforms that he has, whether that be Threads, whether that be Facebook, whether that be Instagram, and how much people are going to be inundated with bullshit because bullshit is it's never really all that at bay. It's always around us, but we've got to be even more vigilant now to be able to suss it out and take take it for what it is, right? Some of us, because of what we do, because of the things that I do here with the podcast and stuff like that, I try very hard to vet the information that I even present to you guys here on the show, because I don't want to look stupid. But there are some people, man, who just they are not as media savvy, aren't necessarily as in tune with trying to vet sources and stuff like that. They're not into it that deep. But because they're not into it that deep, that's how the misinformation spreads so fast. Because you got a whole bunch of other folks who just ain't into it that deep. And so what we're doing is we're watching these social media companies coalesce around Donald Trump in a way that I think for anybody who has a dissenting voice may start finding their voices minimized. May start finding their messaging not reaching the same amount of people, shadow bans and things of that nature. Or better yet, some of them will start being, suddenly you start getting hit with violations of the terms of agreements, terms of service and whatnot. Right? I think for what's happening right now with TikTok, because TikTok is going out of its way to praise Donald Trump right now. Twitter, Elon Musk, out of his way to be part of dark fucking MAGA or whatever the fuck. Mark Zuckerberg suddenly, you know, wanting to be, you know, talking about Joe Biden's administration censoring Facebook and all these other things. They are coalescing around this man, and basically, and what I fear is that because these major fucking social media conglomerates, these oligarchs, what I fear is the suppressing of dissenting voices. Right? And one of the things I think is also interesting in just how this whole TikTok ban came to be is that, you know, it's hard. It is hard for you to convince people that their job is a national security threat, and you want them to choose between their livelihood and national security. Most people are going to choose their livelihood 9 times out of 10. National security is not their responsibility, or they don't feel like it's their responsibility. So when you tell somebody that TikTok is it's a national security threat, and nigga, I just paid my rent with that goddamn money that I got from TikTok. I ain't trying to hear that shit you talking about. That's a lose on them, like to the average American, especially for those who are actually making money of any significance over there on that platform. But going forward, man, what I really want people to understand though is that we have to be very mindful of what these companies are doing and how our messages are going to be amplified or not on these platforms, and start to strategically use these platforms for our benefit instead of allowing for our voices to be muted. Right? Sometimes you're going to post something controversial on this platform. I'm going to leave it off of that one, but I'm going to post this other message on this one, and I'm going to leave this one off of that one. Or like we got to figure something out, because all of them are coalescing around Trump right now. All of them. TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know so much about YouTube, but shit, at some point, maybe even YouTube too, because, you know, Google's CEO paid $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural fund too. So maybe even Google. But I just want us to be mindful. I want us to be aware that not only was, you know, TikTok has been seen for years as a national security threat, but also folks need to understand that this didn't begin with Joe Biden. This began with Trump. Joe Biden actually took up the mantle after Trump, you know, once he came into office. And the Congress also took up the mantle to make a law around this. But there's going to be a lot of folk who are going to be a lot of people who are going to be thanking Donald Trump for saving TikTok, when Donald Trump was the very fucking reason in the beginning that TikTok was ever in peril in the first place. And that's the truth. That's the honest truth. And so I would hope that I would hope that more people paid more attention to things in that way. But you know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So we got that going on. Now, let's see. We got a couple more stories here we're gonna talk about. Oh shit, yeah. Did y'all see? Let's lighten this up a bit. Let's lighten this up a bit. Did y'all see that nigga Lord Jamar battling a goddamn scientist over whether or not the world is flat or not, bro? Oh man. So Lord Jamar, he's a rapper. He was part of the group Brand Nubian. He found himself on was that Godfrey? I want to say it was Godfrey's podcast, where he was in a debate with a scientist. I think he's like a YouTube scientist, goes by Professor Dave or something like that. And they were debating whether or not the earth is actually flat or not. Now, I can remember a time where Kyrie Irving was out here talking that flat earth shit. I can remember a time, it was another rapper. I'm forgetting the rapper's name, but he was like arguing with fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson on whether or not the earth is flat or not. I don't know what's wrong with these niggas, but like, it's just, here's the thing, right? Too many people have grown into the, like, especially with the way that we have access to the internet in the ways that we do now. But too many people have gone into this idea and this way of thinking that being a contrarian it makes them interesting, when it doesn't. It just makes people look at you like you fucking stupid. But with attention being the new currency, even the people are looking at you stupid, y'all still looking at me. So they don't care, especially if they have been able to monetize, their platforms. They monetize the podcast, they monetize their TikTok, they monetize the YouTube, all these different things. I monetize it, so no matter how stupid I look, you watched it and I got paid anyway, right? That's the attitude a lot of these motherfuckers take on. But yeah, Lord Jamar was involved in this debate. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me. I thought I had it saved in my pocket, but I don't. But I know how to do this here. I know how to do this here. Let's see. Lord Jamar. Okay. So we're not gonna watch this entire video. I'm gonna play like a little bit of it because there's a lot. So because there's a couple other things I want to show you guys too. But we got a couple comments here. Team US2K says, so true, they wasn't screwing Biden or Kamala. I'm not sure what that one was referring to. I must have been on one of my rants, so I was in the middle of, I didn't see this one. But they also say, we said it on Threads, but anyone who's getting monetized on any social platform should take heed to what's happened to TikTok, and can happen to any of them. Here's another thing too about that whole TikTok thing, though, and this is something I thought about, and I saw I think it was Francesca Ramsey post this on Threads, where she was talking about the monetization on TikTok. And for those of you who have monetized accounts over there, so long as there's a legal ban on TikTok, in the US, you will not be able to monetize on the views that you get if those views originated in the United States. Those views that you originate outside of the States are the ones that will get you paid. Now, I'm not sure if that's the truth or not. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but if that's the truth, then nigga, like, it's gonna be a whole bunch of folks who, even though TikTok is still here, ain't gonna be seeing the type of money that they were used to seeing before, if that's the truth, right? So you got that going on. But yeah, let me pull this up with Professor Dave and Lord Jamar, because this I saw this earlier in this week and it was like, oh my God, this is absolutely insane. Why did this nigga why did he do this to himself? But let's see. Let me do this here. Let me share and
sir,
okay. So wait. Okay, yeah. So let me do this here. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on. There we go. Boom. Let's see what happens here with Lord Jamar and Professor Dave.
Douchebag whose entire identity was correct. I still took one of the dumbest people alive.
Okay.
There are people in these professions that are there to lie, just like medical apartheid against African Americans. There are trained doctors.
When you follow the money,
to black people about health,
they're gonna say whatever the money tells them to say.
Nobody is saying that didn't happen.
No scientist is getting funded if they do not say what the money wants them to say, sir.
Okay, that's conspiracy.
It's not. It's real. It's a fucking fact.
You don't get this.
Here's another thing too. I want to say this. So, oftentimes, man, if you find yourself in a debate with someone who doesn't really know what the fuck they talking about, you'll see that they start getting really loud, right? They'll start getting loud because they think they don't want your points to be heard, right? So because they don't want your points to be heard, they get loud in order to shut down what it is that you're saying, but also it gives them a sense of authority. This motherfucker done raise his voice upon you. And you looking at them like, nigga, what's wrong with you? But they're like, for folks who don't know, they don't know that this nigga don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? And maybe sometimes they do. Who knows, right? But oftentimes, man, you'll see them. They'll start raising their fucking voice and trying to yell over you because they don't want the point that you are making to be heard. So they'll try to talk over you and they'll start getting loud. Lord Jamar does this all the time. You see this happen in the barbershop a lot of times too. When you talking to a motherfucker who don't know some shit and they run into somebody who actually does know the subject matter, and now all of a sudden the peanut gallery, they like, hold on. Normally I'm talking to these niggas and they listening to me, but they actually paying attention to what this other nigga is saying. I might need to raise my voice up here in this motherfucker so they understand it. No, it's what I said. Right? Lord Jamar does this all the time.
Science is a religion now. Science is a religion. It is not what you think it is. Oh, yes, it is. And people worship at the altar of science. And these people are your new fucking deacons and bishops. And you believe.
You want to know what's interesting about this here, though? What's very interesting about this is that Lord Jamar right now is espousing the same thing about the Illuminati. Right? He's saying that the science is the science is a religion, and the scientists are your bishops and your priests and stuff like that. Like, you think about this for a second. The church back in the day had an issue with the fact that there were some people who just sought to understand the world around them in a very different way than just saying, "Oh, God did this," right? And so if you actually went out here and were able to scientifically explain a phenomena, if you were actually able to scientifically explain why a thing was a thing, the church had a big issue with that, right? And so part of the reason why the Illuminati was supposedly a secret society is because they had to be secret because the church was persecuting them folks. They was killing them motherfuckers, man. If you were a learned person back in the day, they were killing you. So, like, listening to Lord Jamar right now talk about how sciences are your bishops and your priests and stuff like that, and they are worshiping at the altar of science, is like, no, nigga, there's a study, there's a method of how we try to learn things. And it also speaks to this here, man. When you are someone who doesn't know a thing, someone who actually knows about that thing can be a bit intimidating. And you can either seek to try to learn from that person, or if you don't like that person, seek to discredit that person. But if the information is good, no matter who that information is coming from, you have to respect that the information is good. You may if it's coming from someone you don't like, you may, go to, you got to go through a roundabout way of making sure that this shit is on the up and up. So yeah, I heard this from this person, but I ain't sure about this shit because who it came from. So let me check these other sources to see if it corroborates what this person says. Right? Let me see that before I just jump on it because this motherfucker, right? But yeah, man, Lord Jamar out here, he's actually espousing the tenets of the Catholic Church when they were talking about the Illuminati, because the Illuminati were learned people who just wanted to learn the ways of the world. And this is wild. This is wild, bro.
Believe that they have the power. They're closer to God than anybody else. No. Hang on a second.
Here's the other thing. All of this is happening before the professor dude even shows up. So he's trying to set the stage to where, like, he's trying to set the stage to where people are already feeling susceptible or feeling skeptical of the scientist before the scientist actually shows up. That's all he's doing right now.
My whole disclaimer before we even start this bullshit, okay, is that, hang on, I issued a challenge, Godfrey, to even come here to talk to Mr. whoever, scientist man, that if he can present me a working model of a ball that water sticks to the outside of it. Yes, as it rotates, I'll gladly sit down and have a talk with him. He hasn't showed me such model. I can give you a model right now as we sit here.
Oh, is Dave around? Is he?
He's on. Can he hear us? A model right now.
I can hear you guys.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave. It's Godfrey. How are you?
I don't see you.
Good.
You're doing good.
You guys see me?
He's still talking about this fucking ball, though. That's
Dave,
he's
are you
still
Dave
talking
the
about this
scientist?
fucking ball, man.
That contacted you, Dave.
Are you Dave the scientist?
Yeah, he's the one
I'm
that
a science
contacted
communicator.
Science communicator. Well, hey, how you doing? First
What
time
does that
meeting
mean?
you.
difference?
Science
good.
communicator.
Science communicator. Okay. Well, here you are. You do not believe in the flat Earth theories, and you are. I've been taught that the Earth has been round for a long time, and when the flat Earth thing came around, I said,
Also, let me make this clear too. Lord Jamar is a Trump supporter. So again, so like this, let's put that out there too. Lord,
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn! God damn! What? Fuck! Fuck!
yeah, Lord Jamar is a Trump supporter. So understand, man, when you talking to somebody like Lord Jamar, like these are the types of niggas who have a thing about being contrarians, man. And we talked about this, being contrarians. And what we're gonna witness tonight is this motherfucker being a living embodiment of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the Dunning-Kruger effect, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is that it's one of those things where for the people who actually know something, who actually have a knowledge base, understand how much they do not know. But those of you, but for people who do not know what they don't know, they have an elevated sense of their knowledge base on the subject matter, despite the fact that they don't know as much as they think they do, right? And so the people who know the people who know how much they don't know. The people who don't know how much they don't know, right? But they perceive themselves to be experts on the subject matter. So there you go. But Lord Jamar is going to be the living embodiment of this. Trust me.
okay, what's this about? And then I listened to some of the flat Earth stuff, and you know what? Some of the stuff made sense. I was like, that kind of makes sense. And then, when you hear about what you've always been learning about, well, that kind of makes sense. And then when I talked to, actually, Dave, when I talked to a fighter pilot, and then they go like 50,000 feet, way higher than commercial jet. I said, have you seen curvature? He goes, yeah, we see the curvature of the Earth. That's what he said. I was like,
I've seen multiple videos where they say no.
You talk about we're supposed to take care of your video over a pilot who has thousands of hours.
We've seen multiple pilots say that it's
so Dave.
This is like arguing with a Trump supporter too, right? Like there's a lot of people. If you think about this for a second, like objective reality, and this is why I said like I want to say a couple of weeks ago, man, like objective reality is becoming one of those things that we can't even agree on, commonly known facts anymore. Well, like even if you were to present, like even like the whole thing about say for instance the TikTok ban. If you were to tell people right now that Donald Trump advocated for its banning, there are people right now who will argue you down to say, nah, you just made that shit up. That's why it was important for me to show video of actually Donald Trump standing there saying that this is what he wanted to fucking do. That's the entire reason why I need video evidence. I'm not reading this shit. I want to show this motherfucker standing up there in his own goddamn words, standing there saying this shit, because people think that they know more than the goddamn experts, bro. People think that like their fucking, anecdotal experience with no type of objective fucking experiments or anything like that. People think like you think about how many people during the coronavirus pandemic, during COVID, were actively out here becoming becoming scientists because of some of the shit that they saw on TikTok, because of some of the shit they saw on YouTube, because of some of the shit that they saw on Facebook. And they are arguing up and down with the doctors, with the epidemiologists, with the virologists, and all these people who have studied this shit for their fucking life. And you arguing this person down, saying that they don't know what they talking about. Meanwhile, you just reading some shit that made you feel good. This is what it's like. This is what it's like, man, arguing with these type of folks.
So who's going to go first? Tell us, Dave, why you are against what he believes. How about that?
Yeah, Flat Earth is the dumbest hoax in human history. Jamar just watched some videos by Eric Dubé, who just spews a bunch of bullshit, memorized what he says, and repeats it and pretends to be intelligent. Instead, everything you say is so insanely stupid and can be disproven with, like, middle school level physics.
Really?
So, yeah, we can go ahead and you can rattle off your debate.
And so the professor came in kind of spicy. You know what I'm saying? He came in kind of spicy, but he was talking. But, you know, like when you are someone who is, this is what you do, and then you come across somebody who's telling the world some, something that like kind of discredits what you do, and you know better. Like, you're like, all right, I this is what I got. You guys heard how Jamar came into this entire discussion. He tried to belittle this guy before he even showed up on the camera.
Do you have a working model of a ball that has water sticking to the outside of it? Can you show me a working model of that?
A tennis ball.
Yes, wet. And that, but no. That's not water sticking to a ball. That's saturation of water on the ball.
So
I want you to show me where water sticks to the outside of a ball as it spins. It doesn't go to the equator of the ball and spin off.
I heard what you said.
Show me a working model. Hang on.
You said something very
Show
stupid.
me a working model.
Okay.
The reason that things stick to the Earth is because the Earth is extremely massive, so it generates a very large gravitational field. When water falls off of a ball, whatever ball you're talking about, to the Earth, it's because of the large gravitational field exerted by the Earth. So when you're talking about water sticking to a ball, your desired demonstration of gravity fails because gravity exists.
No.
Things fall to the ground.
There is density and buoyancy, sir. Gravity is not some magical thing that makes.
Here's the thing, right? Like, for those of us who actually paid attention in school and actually did well in science, yeah, we did learn this years ago. The fact that you got this 50-plus-year-old black man on platforms making himself look this fucking stupid is embarrassing, man. It's fucking embarrassing.
Things drop to the ground. It depends the medium that it is in. If I drop something in this water, depending on how heavy it is, it's going to sink or float.
Wait, I want you all to talk. But
density
I want to hear both.
First of all, this guy came out real disrespectful, talk about the stupidest shit. Like if he
because it is. Because it is. But also, Jamar wants you to forget that he was also trying to belittle this guy before he ever came on here. Now, Jamar wants you to think that, like, no, he came on here very disrespectful. Like, nah, nigga, you was doing that shit before he even came on.
He's in his room, I'd be smacking the shit out of him right now.
Also, can you tell me this? Can you whoop my ass? So so now it ain't even about the argument, right? Now it's not even about the knowledge. Now you want to fight. Right? Now you want to fight. Again, when you are not learned in the subject and you come up against somebody who is learned in the subject, because you cannot articulate your points, now you want to fight. Come on, man. You're too old for this shit. Canuck Dukes in the chat room said disregarding the experts is highly frustrating these days. Because it is, man. Because we've allowed people to act as though we know more than the fucking experts, and we don't. I wouldn't go to my goddamn mechanic to talk about whether or not I need a goddamn a triple bypass surgery on my heart. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go to a goddamn I wouldn't go to a third grade teacher and ask that third grade teacher to tell me how to install a water heater, unless of course they know how to install a water heater. Right? But they have to show me, they have to demonstrate some level of knowledge on that in order for me to trust them with it. But for whatever reason, we've allowed so many people who don't know shit to become prominent motherfucking voices in the community, and it's fucking maddening, bro.
Study science.
Okay.
It's all bullshit.
Right, sir?
Offensive
you know that, right?
What you say to the
you know that, right?
Race, the entire body of scientific knowledge. Let me respond to the insanely stupid thing you said.
I want you to respond to my. Let him talk. Okay, we're gonna talk about what pseudoscience.
Okay, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
Density is not a force. It requires a force to produce an acceleration. Things accelerate towards the Earth. Density is a scalar. It's not a force. It can't make things move. Buoyancy, there's a buoyant force, but it has gravity in the equation. Buoyancy only exists when gravity exists.
When gravity, the secret sauce.
Here's the problem with your density bullshit. You think that things fall down because the air is less dense. The air is less dense above the object too. So why the fuck don't things fall up? Can you
Things
explain
do
that to me?
fall up, you fucking asshole.
what
Bubbles,
fall up?
bubbles
Nothing
go
falls
up, you
up.
stupid fuck. Fucking evaporation goes up, you dickhead. Like,
That's
what the
not
fuck are you
falling.
talking about?
That's that's because there's wind.
Because it's lighter than the fucking density it's in.
Doesn't a bubble-
how can
doesn't
a
a-
fly
doesn't
defy
a bubble
gravity?
fall? Doesn't a-
How can a fucking tadpole defy gravity, you fucking shithead?
Tadpole defy gravity? What the fuck
Yes.
are you talking
How does
about?
anything swim through? If gravity is holding down oceans that are tons of fucking of fucking force, how does anything swim through the ocean? How do you fucking lift your legs off the fucking ground?
Things can
you
exert
fucking
force.
cockbag.
Let him answer you. Muscles, birds have wings.
cockbag.
Right? You can exert
They have
force,
wings.
which allows you to accelerate. Right? Doesn't that make sense? If you jump or if you throw a ball, you're exerting force and you are counteracting gravity until that momentum runs out. You throw a ball, it goes up, and then it falls back down.
Speaking
Why do
of
things fall down?
Speaking of momentum,
Motherfucker said
do
bubbles.
things
No.
need energy?
Why do
bubbles?
things fall down?
Subject. Why don't things fall
Why
up?
do-
Why
why
do
do-
things only fall down?
why do they-
The
You said,
why
air
do
is
things
less dense
fall
above
up?
the
No,
ball.
why do
Does it
things fall down only? Why don't they fall up? This is what he said, asking.
Again, light things will rise.
Only with wind,
Dense.
which is a
No,
force.
it's not only with wind.
Things don't float. Nothing
Why
floats.
doesn't a ball fall up? The air
Because
above the ball
it is
less
dense.
than the ball.
Because it is dense.
Because what's that?
The air
The ball
is more
is
dense than the
dense.
ball? Is
The-
that what you're saying
That
now?
don't even make sense. That's not even what
The
you're,
ball
what
is
you're saying.
dense. If it's in regular air, it will fall to the ground.
in
If it was
regular
in
If it's regular air, bro,
It's
the
like
air
a
is the
gel.
same.
If
The
it
air
was
is
in
the
a
fucking
gel,
same.
What's the ball gonna do?
Okay, I
It's
don't
just
know
gonna
about what
stop
the fuck
there,
you're talking about
right?
The gel in the air. Why
There's
doesn't the ball
it
fall
depends
up?
on the
air
medium.
is
can't
less
ask
dense
Why
the
does
than
it
question
fall
and then-
up? What does falling up have to do with anything? I
No,
don't understand.
because
what
you
you're
think
talking
he
about.
said.
So now he done forgot how
He
this
said-
shit even became
he
a
said there's no
part of the
such thing as
discussion.
gravity.
Why do things fall down to the ground?
Because they're heavy. Because they have density. That's
Okay,
why.
what is heavy? What is weight? Do you even know what weight is?
Oh my.
What's weight?
He
Tell me
don't
the
know.
definition of weight.
He don't
It's
know.
your fucking head on your fucking shoulders, you fat head
someone's getting
bitch.
So now it's insults.
The answer to the
Bro,
Now it's insults. He don't know.
We're not
He ain't got
gonna
the
sit
answer.
here and talk about all this.
We're not going to sit here and define words that you don't
Yes,
know. that you're
define
trying to
words. We're talking about what's heavy and what's light.
use. Yeah, so what does fucking heavy mean, dumbass? You said the word heavy. What is heavy? What is weight? What is weight? What does that mean? You don't know the definitions of the words you're using.
Bro.
He don't.
Should I define
Good.
weight?
He
Tell
don't.
him,
Yeah,
tell him
define
what weight
weight.
is.
Here I go.
He don't
A
know.
body's relative. Oh, here we go. A body's relative mass or the quantity of matter contained by it, giving rise to a downward force. The heaviness, and then of course the heaviness of a person or thing.
By virtue of its position in a gravitational field. Things have weight because gravity
See,
exists.
you say these things. These
You
are
tell me
definitions.
This is sad, bro.
These are
I don't
definitions
know
that
what to say.
are given by people who are here
study
to
things and actually
who
know
are here
things.
to reinforce a certain position. I'm talking
Sweetie,
about common
money
sense
can't
shit.
change
Did
the
he just
laws
say
of
sweetie?
physics.
Hold on.
You
There's no
fucking
amount of
homo?
money that
Did
can
this-
change the
Yo,
laws of physics.
this nigga just say sweetie.
So here's the other thing too, right? So he's talking about Lord Jamark. He's talking about the money, and it's about where the money is. And like, who gets paid? Who gets paid because they keep telling us that the world is round? Like, where's the money in that? Or better yet, yeah, where is the money in that? Because I think it's like, I think for the better part of human history, I think we kind of understood that, like, the world has a circumference to it for a good long while. So if we already have this as a general understanding, why is there money in that, and as opposed to telling people that the money is flat? Why isn't there money in that? Because now you presented an alternative to what the consensus is, right? So it seems to me that, like, if you come into some new information about some shit, people will be willing to pay for that new information. But he says he wants us to believe that the money isn't telling us that the world is round. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. We got another comment here in the chat room. Canuck Duke says, I'm reminded of that clip in your intro, Spann. They really need to take microphones away from certain people. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. They really do. They really do. And also, Team US 2K says, did Lord Jamar just say common sense? Listen, I'm not sure if Lord Jamar really has it. I'm really I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen Lord Jamar say anything smart ever in my fucking life. I really haven't. Part of the reason why I'm talking about this or even bringing this up now is of course, because I know he's a Trump supporter, but also because of of the age of Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar is way too fucking old to be acting this way. Lord Jamar is way too old to be, exposing to the world just how silly his knowledge is. Lord Jamar is he's way too old to be exhibiting himself in this way, man. Like, I just kind of feel like, yo, man, at a certain age, like Lord Jamar seems like the nigga that was failing all of the classes back in school, but wanted you to believe he was smart because he was older than y'all and y'all was in the same grade. That's how Lord Jamar comes across, even now at like 50. Hey, Google, how old is Lord Jamar?
Lord Jamar is 56 years old.
That nigga is 56 years old, bruh. He way too old for this. This nigga's nearly 60.
56 years old on YouTube.
Okay, no. I don't need you to do that. Thank you. But this nigga's way too old to be acting like that, bruh. Way too old to be acting like that. Well, I'll let this play just a little bit more.
56 years old. Damn. Yo.
There's no conspiracy here. You can't change what
listen.
is.
I'm talking about common sense. I'm not getting into all of this.
You're not talking
Do you
about
feel like
common
you're moving?
sense has nothing to do with any of this.
Do you feel like you're
You
moving?
can't just
Now we got to
intuit
feel like we're
how the
moving.
laws of physics work. You have to probe them and learn about them, study them.
Listen,
that's what
we know.
education
We
is.
know about these things, bro. And all
Like,
this
we
shit
do
you're
and you
talking
don't.
about
You should learn
is
it.
some bullshit. Like, do you know about crepuscular rays? What are crepuscular rays?
It appears to diverge because of perspective, kind of like railroad tracks.
What do you mean
right?
appears to diverge?
It appears to from your perspective.
So can you
as an
trace
observer
the
of those
rays back to its source?
What do you mean? Yeah, okay, there's the sun. Sure. What?
How far
You don't
away?
Even know what you're trying to
how
say.
far
Like,
away
you
is the sun?
Memorized
Is the sun 93 million miles away?
Okay, you already changed the set. You're already jumping away from the thing that you brought up.
No. It's not a matter of. I'm talking about common sense, bro.
Is the sun still 93 million miles away, Dave?
Okay, but
and if it was, why do we have crepuscular rays?
Answer. I want to see where he's getting at.
Why? It doesn't. Why do the railroad tracks appear to converge with distance? It's the same concept. It doesn't matter how fucking far away the sun is.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? Y'all say it's 93 million miles away.
Yeah, and
that's what these same people that you're talking about, all the definitions, say is the truth. So what are you saying? That it's not?
No, of course it is. I'm saying that it has absolutely
what is crepuscular rays? How do you explain crepuscular rays?
He already did. That's the weird part about this. He already did. He already did. But he's asking him to explain this shit again because he doesn't really fucking know and he doesn't have an answer for it. Because if he did have an answer for it, Lord Jamar could have given him his answer for it already. But he hasn't. Because Lord Jamar is depending on the information that he's getting from someone else. This is not Lord Jamar's knowledge base. Right? As we've been watching this video, man, you can see this man is in, like, Lord Jamar is in his phone the entire time trying to look up talking points and shit. Oh boy, just like going off the top of the dome. Lord Jamar doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He really doesn't. But I'm gonna stop it here, man. I'm gonna stop this particular video here because this shit goes long, man. It does. And there's also another video that I kind of wanted to get to as a part of this because Lord Jamar had to go on his own podcast and address this shit on his own show. And I'm gonna pull that up so you guys can watch Right Along with your man Spann. So let's see what the fuck this nigga's talking about on the quote unquote God pod with Lord Jamar. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch Right Along with your man Spann. Let's see what this nigga is talking about.
Welcome back to the God pod with Lord Jamar. I'm Lord Jamar. Let's get right to it. Okay, y'all saw the bullshit. That happened on Godfrey's show with,
it's the bullshit now.
The fake professor.
He's a fake professor.
I'm going to tell you, I can't get too much into detail about this right now because I think there's some things going on.
What would those things be, Lord Jamar?
But all I could say is I apologize for the poor showing. To all my flat earth people out there, this changes nothing. Although I know I made myself look bad from being out of sorts for many different reasons that I can't necessarily get into at this moment.
Okay, so now we get the excuses. You didn't know what the fuck you was talking about. You were out of sorts. There was something going on. There was something else going on. Yada, 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 yada. It's never, hey, man, there were some things I learned in that particular fucking in that particular exchange, and I know I need to go back to my books. I need to go back and read up some more. There's no fucking level of self-reflection. There's no none of that. It was a whole bunch of shit going on. This changes nothing. Yada yada. Like, come on, bro. I'm sorry for my poor showing. Like you apologizing to people for you looking bad, but you're not apologizing for spreading bad motherfucking information. That part you're not apologizing for. And part of the reason why I named this episode, when the OGs, when like you got, shit, I didn't forget what the fuck I named this goddamn episode. There's something about the OGs though, right? When the OGs fail you, our OGs are failing us when they come out here doing this stupid shit. This nigga's OG now. He's 56 years old. Too old to be out here performing in this way. He sound like a goddamn fool.
But I definitely was not myself that night.
Was you high?
And I thought certain people were my friend.
Oh, so now,
and you don't want.
So now it's Godfrey's fault, right? Now it's Godfrey. You thought he was your friend by allowing you to debate with someone on the subject matter that you claim to have some knowledge base on. And here's the thing, right? Godfrey was his friend. Because Godfrey he had the video and he took it down. You know how that video got out? Professor Dave was he was recording this shit on his own equipment. That's how the video got out. Lord Jamar didn't want y'all to see that. Right? He didn't want y'all to see that. In much the same way, man, oh my God. In much the same way that Donald Trump didn't want y'all to see that goddamn January 6th report. It makes me look bad. I don't need y'all to see that. Crazy, ain't it? Fucking crazy.
Want to believe that your friends would do certain things, but yeah, it's definitely possible. But yeah, I was just not in my right state of mind.
Whose fault is that?
I apologize for allowing y'all to see me lose my cool.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time, bro. We saw you on fucking.
I lost my cool.
DJ Vlad
let
videos.
This sucker bitch, pull me into some shit. There's a guy on the show that used to be an ex-pimp, and since he couldn't best me the last time, he did what a pimp does, and he got a bitch to do his dirty work. And
so essentially what happened was this. There was a debate about flat earth shit on Godfrey's show prior to this shit. This is the backstory to this. There was a prior discussion about the flat earth shit. And many, like Lord Jamar was out here speaking his shit again, because these type of niggas, they thrive on being they thrive on being in having audience with people who don't know as much as they do. So he's out here spitting this shit, and they're sitting around like they ain't necessarily buying his shit, but they don't necessarily have the words to fight back on what it is he's saying. They can't articulate why they don't, they don't have the terminology. They don't have the words to argue back, right? So they were like, well, shit, if we gonna talk about this shit, how about we get somebody who actually knows what the fuck they talking about to have this discussion with you, right? And once Lord Jamar saw that he was up against someone who actually had a knowledge base on the subject matter, suddenly it's, my friends threw me under the bus, and one of them was an ex-pimp, and he pimped out somebody else to come at me, and I'm sorry I allowed him to get me into this state of mind, and I wasn't in my right state of mind. Like, all of this is you, nigga. You didn't have to go on the show. And if you own some sort of substance, you didn't have to do that shit neither. You chose to do all of this. There's no motherfucking responsibility being taken by Lord Jamar and none of his shit, man. And none of it. It's fucking hilarious, man.
That's what happened. So what I would like to do, since everybody's watching right now, everybody's got their eye on me. I'm sure there's mad people that are here just to talk shit about me in the comments. Well, first of all, if you want your comment
that much is
read,
true. That much is true.
If you want me to even look at it, you're going to have to pay at least, I don't know, $20.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But I say all that to say, I'm going to end it here with this Lord Jamar bullshit. But I say all that to say, man, Lord Jamar is a living embodiment of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Living and breathing embodiment of it. And we see these types of niggas in our neighborhoods all the time, where they think that they can just like bullshit their way through. And oftentimes they're able to get away with it because they're talking to people who don't know any better. But once you are in front of someone who actually has a knowledge base and who does know something, who does know probably a little bit more than you do in that, they're probably experts on the issue. As you could tell, he couldn't really handle that. He couldn't handle that discussion because he's not used to having that discussion with people who know shit. He's used to bullying people who don't have the knowledge base. And so he can bullshit his way through a conversation and make you think he's more learned than he is when actually he's talking a bunch of bullshit. It's a lot of this shit going. You see this shit at the barbershop all the time. Part of the reason why I don't go to the barbershop no more is, for one, it's easier for me to just go ahead and shave my shit here at the crib. It's more cost effective too. But also, so I ain't got to be sitting around niggas like this all the time. Right? Because I be sitting in my chair like, this dumb motherfucker here, bro. Straight up. So yeah, man, we got that going on, man. Lord Jamar out here looking like a goddamn fool. Now, another story that we got here, man, has to deal with the fact that Snoop Dogg and Nelly have decided that they were going to perform for Donald Trump during his inaugural ceremonies and shit. Yeah, man. Snoop Dogg, Nelly, they didn't cause some backlash because of the fact that, like, people like, yeah, man, what the fuck are y'all doing? What is up with y'all? What's up with you, Snoop? What's up with you, Nelly? And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. Like, it's, a lot of folks talking about boycotting Snoop. They talking about boycotting Nelly. I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. It's not like I've been listening to a whole lot of Snoop. It's not like I've been listening to a whole lot of Nelly. So boycotting them niggas will be very easy for your boy, because I ain't been listening to them niggas. No way. Right? And I'm sure, like, to a certain degree, a lot of us haven't really been listening to a lot of this shit neither, like, especially Nelly. But one of the things that I think has been very interesting, man, is as Donald Trump has he won the popular vote this time. And I think to some degree, man, people feel as though because Donald Trump won the popular vote this time, people feel a little bit more freer to express their support for Donald Trump, because they're not seen as like, they see themselves as the majority now. And like I said, when we were talking about the exit polls and stuff like that, and people were talking about how Black men and women were the number one and number two voting blocks for Kamala Harris. I've been one of the few voices who've been like, yeah, man, but when it comes to the brothers, I think we lagging, bro. And I don't want to pat us on the back for that shit. I think far too many of us were enamored with the idea of a Donald Trump presidency. And I was seeing it not only in my personal relationships, but I was seeing it in some of the some of the ways in which some of these black celebrities have been moving. Like I talked about, former mayor of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, being out here, being a Trump supporter. Talked about Trick being a Trump supporter. We talk about Lil Wayne being a Trump supporter. Kodak Black being a Trump supporter. Rod Wave is a Trump supporter. Antonio Brown, Trump supporter. So like these are some of the names of black men, prominent black men, who have, hitched their wagon to, this MAGA shit, right? There was even there was a Detroit pastor here, and he's one I remember. Funny thing, right? In 2016, there was a black pastor who brought Donald Trump to Detroit to speak in Detroit at his church, right? And I know where that church is located. As a matter of fact, both of the churches that Donald Trump went to in Detroit, the one in 2016 and the one in 2020, both of those motherfuckers are on Grand River in Detroit, right? On the west side. Okay. The first church that Donald Trump went to and spoke to, that church ain't there no more. That church is no longer in existence right now. I wonder why that is. Okay. Now, this other church that Donald Trump showed up here in Detroit, and that pastor showed up at the RNC. He spoke at the RNC, led prayers and shit, talked about Donald Trump coming to the hood, and Donald Trump came to speak to a black church. But what he didn't tell y'all, and for those of you who didn't watch the videos, is that black church was filled with white faces when he came. Right? So what we've seen is there has been some level of black support amongst black men for Donald Trump, right? And I leave no room for them type of niggas around me. Fuck them niggas. Every last one of you niggas can suck a sick dick. Fuck them niggas. Straight up. Even the niggas that used to be close to me. Fuck you niggas. Straight up. That's how that's how I feel about. That's how much I feel about this shit. Have no room for these type of coons in my life. Stay your bitch ass over there. Stay over there. We not fucking with you over here. That's just what it is. Okay? So, Snoop Dogg. At one point, Snoop Dogg was a critic of one Donald Trump, man. Snoop Dogg actually went so far to say that like any nigga who would perform for Donald Trump for some inaugural shit with some jigaboos, right? He said this. Matter of fact, you ain't got to take my word for it. Hold on. You ain't got to take my word for it. We going to let Snoop Dogg speak for himself. Hold on. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right on with your man Spann. Let's see what the fuck Snoop Dogg got to say about the niggas who going to be performing for one Donald Trump. Check this out, y'all. Let me make sure the video, the sound is up. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what he got to say.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you niggas gonna do it first? I'll be the one that performs for himself.
This is this nigga this year, right now, performing at a Donald Trump inaugural event after in 2017, calling these niggas jigaboos, coons, sellouts, all this shit. He had all this fucking vitriol. But this is what he's doing. Now, I'm gonna play this again so y'all hear what the fuck this nigga had said.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you niggas gonna do it first? I'll be the one that performs for himself.
That shit aged like milk. That shit aged like motherfucking milk. God damn! And like low key, man, like I know people were talking about like they said that Donald Trump had pardoned a friend of Snoop's, and so now Snoop ain't got no animosity towards Donald Trump. But does that like if Donald Trump, I mean, if Snoop felt this way about Donald Trump, for the pardon, does that negate all of the things that he like? Does all of the things that led Snoop to believe that Donald Trump was the man that he felt he was in this time? Does the pardon erase all of that shit? Does that shit go by the wayside because he pardoned a friend of yours? And the other part that I think is interesting about that is this: when it comes to those pardons, is that y'all remember? I want to say it was Rudy Giuliani who talked about they were selling pardons for $2 million a piece back when Donald Trump was president of the United States back in 2016 to 2020. And so some of those folks who got those pardons, let's talk about Lil Wayne, let's talk about Kodak Black. Whether or not the reason why they were able to get those pardons was because they were able to come up with the $2 million in order to get them. Right? Now, I don't know if Kwame Kilpatrick had $2 million in order, because he wasn't necessarily, he wasn't pardoned. He had his sentence commuted. He wasn't pardoned. Maybe that's a totally different thing. Maybe the fee was lower for that. But to see like these dudes, like you know, to see the switch up, the change up, and it's not just Snoop and Nelly. When we were talking about Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai of the CEO of Google, the way in which TikTok is genuflecting himself upon Donald Trump and praising Donald Trump for bringing TikTok back to the United States after Donald Trump actively asked for its ban. Like, to see like the way these motherfuckers are genuflecting to this dude, man. This is where like people are looking at a whole lot of folk like, man, what the fuck is happening right now? And if you had this feeling about Donald Trump before, and now you out here performing for Donald Trump now, like, damn, OG Gangsta Crip, right? What the fuck is this? What are you doing? Now, another, nigga that's too old. Hold on, because I don't know why I don't even know what the fuck that is that's playing back in that background, right? But another thing that what is this? Hold on, let me pull this. What is this shit? I got
since everybody's watching.
Okay, I already did. Okay, so I can get rid of that. But yeah, but another rapper who is scheduled to perform for Donald Trump in this particular inaugural season is one Nelly of Hot and Her fame. And he went on Willie D's podcast to talk about the negative backlash he's gotten for why he's performing for Donald Trump. And I gotta say, man, he probably should have just shut the fuck up. I mean, he probably just really should have just shut the fuck up.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn! God damn! What? Fuck!
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann, and we gonna see what the hell Nelly is saying over here on Willie D's podcast. Let's check this out. Here we go.
Willie D Live.
Considering the backlash that you received for agreeing to this performance, right?
But I've been getting backlash. I've been getting backlash my whole career. But this.
Now he's talking about I've been getting backlash my whole career. Understand the reason why he was getting backlash. Understand why he was getting said backlash. You know, the backlash originally came was the tip drill video that he did where he slid a credit card down the crack of a stripper's ass in the video, and then he went to a historically black college and university, one of the more prestigious ones. He went to Spelman, an all-woman school. And I understand that he was going there because he was seeking to get funding for, or to raise funds for, I believe it was a bone marrow operation for his sister. But some of the women there took offense to the fact that like this was the imagery that he was putting out about black women across the world, right? So he's positioning himself even in this moment as a victim. Because people were like, hey, man, that shit you did, we didn't agree with. And so they spoke up on why they didn't agree with him. And yeah, you might have been trying to raise money for your sister who unfortunately passed away. But you cannot be upset with people who did not agree with, like, hey man, like this type of thing we might not necessarily want to promote. And if we actually want to have a conversation with you about this thing that you did and why what you did could be harmful for the rest of the black women outside of your sister. But right now, he's positioning himself as a fucking victim. I've been getting backlash my whole career. Nobody gave you no backlash over Hot in Here, man. Nobody gave you no backlash over Country Grammar. Them sisters stepped up to talk to you about that shit, though, because they didn't necessarily appreciate how you were portraying black women to the larger society. They got the right to say so. They got the right to disagree with you, nigga. You're not a victim here, bro.
How do you reconcile your artistic choices with the diverse political beliefs of your fan base?
That's my fan base. If my fan base really have a political belief, right? Here's the thing. Like, I agree in family first. I believe in family first. Period. Family before politics. Family above and beyond. Like, right? Like, so now we don't always seem like we're making those choices sometimes when we're, you know, when we grow up the way that we grow up. Sometimes when we in the hoods and we're doing certain things, it's like, no, you know, you're not putting your family first when you out there hustling, or you're not really putting your family first. Like, we can rationalize that and say that we are. We can rationalize that and say that we are, but really we're not, because we're taking certain choices. But in our hearts, we truly believe that. So in this type of situation, if my fans are so, if politics is above and beyond anything other than what that person stands for, what that person has done, then I apologize that I, quote unquote, let you down, because I thought you was riding with me for the scholarships that I've been giving away since I've been in this business. I thought you was riding with me for the people that I got signed up on the bone marrow stem cell registry that was all record breaking and helping people save lives. I thought you was riding with your boy for the children that we visit at Children's Hospital to Brains. I thought you was riding with me for the bikes and the presents and the things that we give away to unfortunate kids at Christmas. I thought you was riding with me because I put on for my city and I try to bring my city up every step of the way.
Understand something here. When these niggas get to talking about I've done all these things, right? Like, what they're trying to do is to blunt the criticisms that they like. He's trying to blunt any criticism that he's getting right now, because people like, yeah, you've done all these things. Nobody said that you didn't do all these things. Nobody's even taking that away from you. People don't agree with you on this. Let's talk about this, nigga. It ain't got shit to do with all this other stuff you talking about. That right there, all this shit you talking about right now, red herring, my dog. Ain't got shit to do with what we talking about right now. And your decision to normalize a motherfucker who really wants to further marginalize people who look like you. So all this mentioning all this charitable work you've done over the years and the money you gave and the awareness you brought to these issues, yada, yada, yada. Kudos to you, brother. But what about this? We talking about this, and this ain't that.
I did not know you was riding with me because you thought I would ride for who you voted for. I didn't know that. I apologize. I apologize. I didn't know that I had to agree with your political choices, and I thought it was the.
But also, let this be clear. He's telling you right now that he did support Donald Trump. Okay? Not like he's talking about, I didn't know that all these, I had to support who you supported and voted for. Like, no. He's telling you right now, without even saying it, he's telling you right now that he supported Donald Trump.
Things that you do, not the things that you say should be done. If you follow what I do, this shouldn't even be an argument. He's the president. He won. This isn't a campaign. This isn't an RNC. I'm not out on the political campaign. I didn't get none of that 1.5. You see what I'm saying? Like to try to help somebody get voted.
Kamala didn't invite you to
no. She didn't invite me.
I didn't invite me either, man.
Damn, don't that sound like Joe Rogan? Right? She didn't come down to my studio to come be a part of my podcast. So I guess I gotta go ahead and endorse Donald Trump. Right? Think about that. Like she didn't invite me to, but also not even that. Like he's saying I didn't get this money to support Donald. He don't want the presidency, and you heard that sort of logic from people like Stephen A. Smith to say that like, yo, he won the election, and most of this is like I said, it's about the fact that like Donald Trump won the popular vote this time, right? So now it's like, well, he won the election, so we gotta like just kind of coalesce around him. And we and act as though we gonna forget all of the shit that came before with Donald Trump. We supposed to forget all of that shit because he won the election and because 77 million people supposedly voted for Donald Trump. And they act as though like, well, hell, that wasn't even over 50%. So it's not like he got the majority of the votes. He didn't get the majority of the people. And Donald Trump lost the vote by over 7 million the last time to Joe Biden. Do you think that Donald Trump gave Joe Biden the courtesy of like having a peaceful transfer of power and yada yada? No, what Donald Trump did was he started an insurrection and started actually telling people that he won the goddamn election, despite the fact that he lost that bitch electoral collegely and fucking popularity. But these people, these niggas are supposed to act as though we are supposed to normalize Donald Trump because he won the election. And so now it's supposed to be what it is, right? Like, he the president. We're supposed to honor the presidency and forget all the shit that we saw before what happened. All the shit that we saw before. We're supposed to forget that. Fuck you, nigga.
Man, I'm just saying. Like, so... But I don't knock the ones that did. I don't knock the brothers and sisters that benefited from it. I don't knock the correspondents that may have gotten money to do that. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because it's an honor. I respect the office. It don't matter who is in office. The same way that our men and women, our brothers and sisters who protect this country have to go to war and have to put their life on the line for.
Think about how many people who are in our armed forces who are there not because they want to be in the armed forces. There are some people who definitely are patriotic and they want to fight for the country and they want to defend this nation from enemies, domestic, foreign and domestic, all that shit. But you got a large number of folk who are in the armed forces because, hey man, I ain't having enough money to pay for college. And like, I need this bread. And as soon as if I can get some of those benefits to help me get through college and help me set my life up, then I will do that. I don't give a fuck about this military. I don't give a fuck about this country like that. But this was a means for me to get to what I wanted going forward. There's a lot of folks in the military like that. Think about how this nation treated a whole lot of black folks in that military, in that very same military, when they came back from conflicts around the world and came back home to be treated as second-class citizens, despite who the president was and all this other shit. Right? So he's trying, like the idea that this nigga is actually trying to present himself as, I'm out here and I'm just honoring the presidency like a soldier would. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's not an honor. I mean, like, I'm sure for some of them it would be. For some of them it probably would be. But I'm sure for a lot of them, probably ain't. Like, I don't like this motherfucker, man. Ain't much the same way. They're like, yo, man, like, they didn't like Obama, or they may not have liked Biden, right? But they were under contract. They were under contract to be a part of the military. Now, it wasn't because of their allegiance to who the fuck the leader of the armed forces were. And the minute that they could, probably got out. All right. So, like, come on, man. Weak argument.
Whoever in office. So if they can put their life on the line for whoever in office, I can damn sure perform for whoever.
What do you say to the people that say we're not giving you this backlash because of your political affiliation or your political choice or whatever. We're giving you this backlash because you are propping up a white supremacist.
I would ask them to show me where he's a white supremacist, and
all right. And this is where you know niggas ain't this is where you know niggas are either uninformed or being disingenuous. Uninformed or disingenuous. If you would come in 2025 talking about show me where Donald Trump is being a white supremacist, no one's taking you seriously that you don't know the criticisms of Donald Trump and his racism and white supremacy. No one's taking you serious. And when it comes to, like a lot of like some of his black supporters, they want to try to minimize a lot of the shit. If not, like by and large, actors though, those things are non-existent, and that you're making the shit up. We see this all the time. Like even when it came to shit, what was that? Shit. When it came to the fact that he refused to rent to he refused to rent to black folks in the 1970s, and the Justice Department sued him and his father because of it. And because they settled that, it wasn't an admission of guilt, but niggas know what the fuck was happening. They wasn't getting apartments, right? Somehow, some way, because of, oh man, but that was way back in the day though. People will try to rationalize shit that way. It's crazy. People try to rationalize that sort of stuff. They act as though we don't see the things that we saw. We don't hear the things that we hear. As if this stuff isn't happening in front of everybody. So when he says this sort of shit, show me some stuff, he'd be like, nigga, you got Google the same way everybody else got Google. If you really wanted to motherfucking know, it ain't that hard for you to pull it up. You're a goddamn millionaire, nigga. Come on, bro. We know you know.
And here's the thing. Okay, I get it. He did say if you don't vote for me, you're not black, right? Oh no, that wasn't him. That wasn't him. Hold on. I'm trying to think. Hold on. He did create
I know where you're going.
He did create the crime bill in the 90s, which said that if you get caught with 5 grams of crack, you do a mandatory 5 years. That had mass incarceration. I think
what's interesting about this is that these are some of the same arguments that were being had of Hillary Clinton back in 2016, man. These are some of the same arguments. Hillary Clinton was responsible. They was laying at the feet of Hillary Clinton back in 2016. She was responsible for the crime bill. She was calling black people super predators and stuff, right? Understand? Like, and even then, Hillary Clinton didn't sign no legislation. Didn't sign no legislation at all. Couldn't even vote on the legislation. But she took the brunt of that from niggas back in the day, back in 2016, right? Now, you can say that Joe Biden authored the crime bill. You can say that Joe Biden is responsible for its creation, the whole nine. But you also have to understand the political climate at the time that had the CBC endorsing, the Congressional Black Caucus for endorsing the 1994 crime bill. You can also go back and watch how many community leaders were asking for something to be done because of the scourge that crack was having on the inner cities across the fucking nation. So when you speak of this in terms of Joe Biden is responsible for mass incarceration, like as if he was responsible for this all on his own, as if this wasn't a system that was in place, right? As if this was in a system that was in place. Where the vast majority of the American populace was asking for something. And this is what they got, including community leaders in the black community were asking for something to be done. And then to retroactively act as though like, oh, because, well, now we know this led to mass incarceration and this led to this, that, and the others. Like, yeah, hindsight is 2020. But you're being disingenuous because I know you're old enough to fucking know I know you're old enough to fucking know what life was like in the 1990s when crime was a hell of a lot higher than it is now. They're trying to tell you that crime is higher than the motherfucker now, and it ain't. It's not. It's not nowhere near as high as crime was in the 1990s, early 1990s, mid 1990s. Nowhere near those type of totals. We're not seeing those type of totals. If you saw those type of totals now, niggas would be, the heads would explode. Because they think shit is bad now, and it ain't nowhere near as bad as it was then. And for those of us who are old enough to know better, it's incumbent upon us to say so. So when I hear nigga talking about some, well, the 1994 crime bill, bro, nigga, understand, it wasn't just Joe Biden. He didn't do that shit in a fucking vacuum in much the same way that y'all were trying to blame Hillary Clinton for the same shit back in 2016. She didn't do it in a vacuum either. But it's very convenient. It's very convenient to these niggas. And like I said, like earlier, this is when a nigga was telling y'all he been a Trump supporter.
I think even the Vice President Kamala spoke on that part that said that the crime bill played a huge part. No, he didn't do that. Let me see. What did he do? I'm trying to think. The white supremacist. Hold on. I'm gonna get to it. Okay. He did not rent to black people. What was it, in the 70s or the 80s? Is that what they said? And like, oh, okay. Is he renting to him now?
Oh, so that's what we doing. Oh, so okay. So he didn't rent to black people back in the day, but is he renting to them now? Okay, so you gonna give Joe Biden credit for the crime bill back in the 80s, but are you gonna give him credit for the people's sentences he commuted now? Are you going to give him credit for the for the amount of folks he's commuted? Like that sort of that deal. Are you going to give him credit for that? Are you going to give him credit for not going after like folks with small drug possession offenses and things of that nature? You remember Donald Trump was the one who's actually trying to bring back private prisons. It wasn't Joe Biden who was doing that. It was Donald Trump. See, you want to minimize Donald Trump's racism that affected everyday black people in a very real way. And that was when he was a private fucking citizen. He didn't even have the government behind him then. He was out here being a private citizen, being a racist then. Joe Biden and the United States government outside of Joe Biden, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and had to vote on that fucking bill. And the president had to sign that bitch into law. Had to sign it. But suddenly you want to forgive Joe Biden. I mean, you want to forgive Donald Trump's racism because that was in the 70s and 80s. As if the fucking 90s has been like, nigga, we about 30 years removed from the 90s now, bruh. 30 years. 30 years. as my man Keenan would say on fucking Saturday Night Live. But like, yo, you want us to act as though we didn't see like that's, bro. I'm man, listen. Right now, man, I'm like, yo, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now.
So nobody's allowed to change, right? See, here's the thing. So
show me that Donald Trump has changed, though. Show me that Donald Trump has changed. And the reason why I asked you to show me that Donald Trump has changed, because that's the one thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't changed a bit. Donald Trump promoted a racist fucking a racist political point by saying that Barack Obama was not born here in America. The first black president of the United States, Barack Obama wasn't born here. Had Barack Obama out here producing birth certificates and shit, right? Now, if you ask somebody to produce Donald Trump's college records to see if he was as smart as he say he is, he done already put his school on notice that if they release his school records, he would sue them. Donald Trump been telling you he gonna release his tax returns for the better part of the last 8 years. You seen them motherfuckers? Donald Trump told the nation that he lost an election based upon the voting totals that happened in Detroit, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. what is the common denominator of all 4 of those cities? They are predominantly black cities who didn't vote for his punk ass. And then he got a nation of white folks to storm the Capitol based on a lie that he told. And even now they continue with the lie and say that like many people have questions about the integrity of these elections. But what they don't tell you is that the reason why these people have questions about the integrities of the elections is because you've been telling these motherfuckers these lies over the course of the last 8 to 10 years. Donald Trump, if there's any fucking election he done lost, he done told you the bitch was rigged. Let's not even talk about Donald Trump's wanting to basically have lynch mobs on the Central Park 5. Calling for the death penalty for 5 innocent black and brown brothers in New York for a crime that they did not commit. A crime that, or better yet, a charge that he refuses to apologize for to this day. Donald Trump last year was actively out here calling Haitian immigrants eaters of cats and dogs and terrorizing folks in an Ohio town. But you want us to tell you, show you where Donald Trump is being racist. Oh, and that shit, that was back in the 70s. Nigga, what? You'd have been better off just shutting the fuck up, man. You'd have been better off just going to this bullshit inaugural event, performing, not saying nothing. But now everybody knows you kind of a piece of shit. You're kind of a piece of shit. And you don't really know as much as you think you know. Much like Lord Jamar.
We can talk about past, but we never want to talk about our past. If our past get brought up in our community for a lot of what our men did, we always call it rehabilitate. Yo, these young brothers, we've been through a lot. I know I've been through a lot. If my past was what was going to prevent me from winning today, I wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that he ain't got some fucked up ways. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's why I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what I'm saying is that he's the president of the United States. He's not the candidate for the United States. He's the president. He won.
I think if Trump, some of these ways, like with the housing discrimination that he participated in back in the 80s, if that was a one-off, if that was, or even if he had some other things going on where he looked like a bigot to us, that might be one thing. But it's another thing when he starts saying things like when you have a situation where you have black folks getting their heads blown off by the police with impunity, and Trump says, I'm going to give them even more impunity. Hold on. We're going to be the ones affected the most by something like
impunity. He's not giving them.
He didn't say he was going to give them impunity. He said he was going to give them immunity.
Right. Not for working outside of your job. Nobody's going to give anybody immunity.
See, yeah, and with this I'm gonna have to fucking stop. I'm gonna have to stop because even now you want to make a motherfucking excuse for Donald Trump's support of police in the killing of black people in their official capacity. So when the police are actively killing black folks and it's state-sanctioned violence, you're talking about, oh no, it's not that. It's like in the course of their job. No, nigga. The fuck is wrong with you? We are disproportionately having like instances of interactions with the police. We are disproportionately having interactions with the police that results in the death of someone within our community. And Donald Trump, instead of trying to mitigate that, instead of trying to stop that sort of like disproportionality of these connections, of these interactions with the police, to tell the police like, nah, man, fuck that. Go and do what y'all gonna do. Kill them if you got to, but we gonna move forward. And that affects your community in a negative way, disproportionately, and you out here skinning and grinning like this grin on his fucking face right now, Nigga, fuck you, bro. Fuck you, man. Again, this is why. This is what happens when your OGs fail you. When your OGs fail you. I hope I never at any point in my life get to a point where I got where somebody comes to me with a bag or with any with any type of type of money. I would hope that my integrity would not allow for me to be looking like this dumb motherfucker in support of someone like a Donald Trump. That's what I would hope for. I would hope that my integrity would ground me in not allowing me to turn my back on my principles and my morals and who I am as a man and as a person, as a husband, as a father, as a cousin, as a brother, as an uncle. I would hope that no amount of money will be able to buy me in the ways that Trump has been able to buy some of these niggas in the ways in which he has. And it doesn't mean, when I say buy, it doesn't necessarily mean money. But buy my mind, buy my influence, by my ability to talk to the community in a way that whitewashes the harm that Donald Trump represents to my community. Harriet Tubman didn't take everybody with her. Everybody can't go. Some of these niggas we got to recognize don't have the community's better interests at heart. Some of these motherfuckers are very much self-interested. They don't have a community mindset at all. They're not thinking about anything outside of themselves. And it's incumbent upon us to recognize these niggas for who they are and govern ourselves accordingly going forward. So when it comes to a nigga like Nelly, who would try to minimize Donald Trump's racism and minimize Donald Trump's policy positions and how they could negatively affect the black community, a community from which he's come. I don't know how connected to the community he still is. And have a smile on his face as big as shit about talking around police brutality and how Donald Trump talks about police brutality. Yeah. I would hope that my integrity and the integrity of the folks who listen to me and the integrity of the folks who want a better nation going forward would cast these types of niggas aside. Everybody can't go, including this nigga here. So yeah, man, we got that going on. Now, before we get out of here though, I did want to play this because as we do have a level, some level of black support, especially among some black men when it comes to Donald Trump. I want y'all niggas to understand just how some of his white supporters look at you niggas. Because as much as y'all would try to downplay the racism of Donald Trump, can you also downplay the racism of the other motherfuckers who also support Donald Trump along with you? You want us to show you that Donald Trump is racist, but the racists are out here supporting Donald Trump. The racists believe that Donald Trump is a racist as one, what's my man name? That ran for governor down in Florida. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He ran against DeSantis. And I'm drawing a blank. He does a podcast with shit. I guess I could just look his name up. Hold on a second. Native Land Pod. I think that's the name of their pod. Yeah. Native Land Pod. Andrew Gillum, that's his name. Andrew Gillum said that the racists believe that you're a racist. When he was talking to Ron DeSantis. But I want to show you guys, like, just for those for those Trump supporters, especially those black Trump supporters who feel as though like, yo, we tripping. Y'all don't know Donald Trump ain't racist at all. this, that, and the other. This is how the white folks, this is how the other Trump supporters feel about your black ass. So before we get on up out of here, we gonna show them what they saying about you. All right. So pull this up so you guys can watch. Right along with your man Spann. This is what they saying about y'all in their spaces.
And you're not an American because originally you were slaves and you didn't even have value in terms of the political system. Then they were given like 3/8 of the value, right? Of
3/5.
3/5. Thank you. In my world, it was 3/8, but I live in a utopia. No, I'm just kidding. But it was like 3/5, and you go down, and it's like then amendments were made, and there was adjustments that gave you citizenship and the right to vote, but it didn't make you an American. It just gave you American citizenship. It gave you legal right, and that's why it doesn't take a genius to notice that black people and white people in America look, act, behave fundamentally different, both individually and collectively. Now, that's not to say that black people aren't valuable in the eyes of God. It's not to say that white people are better than black people, even if they are. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm kidding. No, he wasn't kidding. He meant that shit. And so, every time I see a black person in support of what we got coming down the pipe right now, I honestly, man, I ain't got nothing for you. I ain't got nothing for you. You voted for this shit. I hope that you get the president that you deserve. It's unfortunate though that the rest of us have to be around here for this bullshit right along with y'all punk asses. And that shit starts tomorrow. So that is what it is. But it's time for me to get the fuck up out of here, man. I done ran my mouth for quite some time, and it's time for me to go. But of course, before we get out of here, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those voicemail messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also hit me up on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. I am also on Blue Sky. That is mrspann.bsky.social. Over on Blue Sky, there is no underscore there, just all Mr. Spann. So mrspann.bsky.social over there. I am on Fanbase as well. My name on Fanbase is Mr._Spann. So follow me there for those of you who are more black inclined in your social media, time. Also, hit me up with a subscription on YouTube. Leave us comments on YouTube. Let us know what you're thinking about, what it is we're talking about over here on the videos over there on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel there. You get alerted when we go live over there as well. I do know that. And also, you can, like I said, subscribe, leave us those likes. Those likes help with the algorithm and whatnot. Gets the videos shown to more people, and we appreciate everybody who helps in that way. But also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And also hit up our store, copy yourself some merch, man. That does cost you a dime, but it helps us keep this operation float, man. And so we appreciate everybody who does that. Copy yourself some merch, man. Rock your merch. Take a picture in that merch and let us know that you got your shit and you're looking good in that shit, right? So we got that going on. I appreciate everybody who's in the chat room. Appreciate you guys' commentary. And I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.